Welcome to a World Pipelines Spotlight. I'm Elizabeth Corner, Senior Editor of World Pipelines, and today I am joined by Luc Perrad from DENSO Group Germany. Luc Perrad is Director of International Sales at DENSO Group Germany. He has over 13 years of experience in corrosion protection worldwide and is a certified Level 2 NACE coating inspector. A Belgian citizen, he is fluent in French and English, has excellent technical sales experience and far-reaching engineering expertise when it comes to questions concerning corrosion prevention for pipelines. A qualified engineer, he has recently advised companies on the introduction of a new coating system throughout Europe. Previously, he worked in management positions on various projects, including very global pipeline projects in France, Africa, and the northern regions of the Middle East. For almost a century, DENSO Group Germany has built its reputation on high quality and forward-thinking solutions for sealing technology and corrosion prevention. DENSO products reliably protect pipelines, construction, buildings, and more. With branches in 6 European countries, the group is the leading company in key Central European markets and continues its dynamic growth in Eastern Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America, with sales partners in over 100 countries worldwide. In this Spotlight session, we are reviewing DENSO Group's recent article for World Pipelines entitled Testing Pipeline Tapes, written by Thomas Kaiser, Managing Director of DENSO Group Germany. The article, which is published in the September 2021 issue of World Pipelines, asks, why do some tapes protect pipelines better than others over long periods? The article offers a comparison of the lamination and coextrusion manufacturing procedures and outlines the benefits of coextruded tapes. The piece provides technical details about the bonding process for tapes, as well as mechanical strength, lap shear stress, and durability. The article also includes a coextruded tapes case study with analysis of a pipe section that had been in continuous operation for 39 years. There is a lot to dig into here. In fact, you might say there are many layers to this conversation about 2 and 3 ply tapes. So on that note, thank you for joining me today, Luc. I'm looking forward to talking all things tapes.
Thank you too.
We start Spotlights by revisiting the article that was published in the magazine. So perhaps you can describe the basics of the topic you discussed in the article and explain why the topic is of importance to the pipeline industry today.
Yes, sure. Thank you for the introduction and this first question. In fact, the article explains why and how co-extruded tapes are of superior quality, especially on a long-term basis. And today, this is even more important because the expecting lifetime of pipelines is always extended and extended. We are talking about lifetime of 50 years and even more, sometimes 100 years. So the expectation and the quality of the tape on a long-term basis is really a key topic for the pipeline owners.
And what kind of faults or defects do you commonly see with tape coatings for pipelines? I'm interested in how do they fail and what are the consequences of those tape failures?
Yeah, so typically a tape fails when the tape starts to disbond, so losing from the substrates, from the steel, and this is combined with the formation of wrinkles. The wrinkles are due to the soil stress pressure on the coating, on the tape. And those wrinkles is really the enemy of the tape. And we have seen in the past many wrinkles on different tape systems. And why is it so dangerous for the integrity of the pipeline is because under the wrinkle, the electrolyte, which is the soil and the water, can penetrate and the corrosion process can start there. And because it is in a very close environment, it is in a wrinkle under the coating, we call this a crevice corrosion. And crevice corrosion is a specific corrosion process which leads to the formation of pittings. It is also called pitting corrosion, in fact. And those pits are like boring machines. They go through and can break through the pipe, the steel pipe. And this leads to leaks. This is one thing, but also sometimes to explosion, specifically when the pipeline is transporting high pressure hazardous gas, for example.
Yeah. So it's wrinkles we want to avoid, and then when you can't avoid a wrinkle, that would cause a crevice corrosion or a pitting corrosion.
Exactly, exactly.
So early on in the article, Thomas Kaiser asks, what influence does the production technology have on the material properties, and how does this change the quality of corrosion protection tapes? So perhaps you can tell us how important is production quality, and how does production quality affect long-term tape behavior, particularly in the lamination process?
Yeah, so when manufacturing tapes, what the targets, the most important targets to achieve is to get a very strong bond between the different layers of material. Tapes is not only one material. The one sheet of tape is different layers of different materials, and those materials needs to strongly bond to each other. And the co-extrusion process allow a very strong bond between those different materials. It's like the material are welded together. While in a laminated process, it's not the same. The material is laminated together, and we can compare this like a gluing process. They are glued together. They are not welded together. So this poor bonding between layers can lead to failures. The layers slide on it over each other and leads to failure. So the co-extruded, this welding between the different layers, is much more reliable on a long-term basis compared to a laminated system.
Excellent. So let's talk a bit more about co-extrusion then. Perhaps you can explain the benefits of this method in terms of bonding and any other factors and its overall performance.
Yeah, so as I explained just before, so the different materials are welded together in a co-extruded process, while in a laminated process they are glued together, so that the bond is much less. Which consequences it has on the performance, on the technical performance of the tape? So then we can talk about performance like layer-to-layer adhesion. When the tape is wrapped on the top of each other, the different sheet of tape needs to strongly bond to each other, and there are tests in laboratory to test this. When the tape has been co-extruded, the bond between the different layers of tape is much, much higher. And because of this, the tape is forming what we call an homogeneous, like a tube-like coating, exactly comparable to the factory coating. So this is the first thing. The layer-to-layer adhesion is much higher. Another parameters of performance is a lap shear resistance. I told you already that the lap shear, as a consequence, can lead to wrinkles. But with a co-extruded tape, the lap shear resistance is much higher because the layers cannot slide over each other as it is the case in a laminated manufacturing process. So there is no wrinkle, and so there is no pitting corrosion with co-extruded tapes. Another parameter or performance is elongation at break. The elongation before it breaks with the co-extruded tapes is much higher. We talk about 600% and more before the tape breaks. So when you wrap the tape, you wrinkle the tape around the pipe, you can apply more tension, and this tension will absorb the soil stress additionally, which leads to fight and not getting those famous wrinkles, which are the enemies of the tapes. And the last performance is the adhesion to the substrate. Typically, when we test adhesion of co-extruded tapes, we get values which are about 2 times, sometimes even 3 times above the value we can see with laminated tapes. So the very strong bond to the substrate, to the steel, is even much higher with co-extruded tapes. So those are the 4 key performance which are much higher with co-extruded tape compared with laminated tapes.
Now, we know that aging pipelines are an increasing point of focus in the industry. How do co-extruded tapes protect aging assets?
Okay, so the co-extrusion, as I explained before, the manufacturing process allows the different layers of material to be welded together. And this weld, because it is welded, it is not laminated or glued. So this welding process gives, on a long-term basis, a much more strong and stable bond between the layers. So this is one thing. A second thing is that the material used for the co-extrusion process are polyethylene and butyl rubber. And those two materials are particularly stable in time. And if you compare with other material which are sometimes used for tapes, like PVC or bitumen, those materials, they are not stable in time. The PVC can easily crack after a couple of years. And in any case, a bitumen always age badly. A bitumen sooner or later become porous. That's well known, and this is the property of the material as it is. And those properties are testing by the standard. If you look at different tests in standard used in the oil and gas industry, the artificial aging process demonstrates that a co-extruded tape made by polyethylene and butyl rubber has much better performance. The testing of those tapes before aging and after aging give pretty much the same result. So as the tape did not age when it is co-extruded. And another point which is important to say is, Denso will be next year will celebrate its 100 years. Yes, 100 years. And so, yeah, we have many interesting track records and experience. And one of these experience is explained in the article. So the pipeline has been protected by co-extruded tapes. And after 39 years, the tape has been assessed, and it was still in a very good shape. And we did some testing, and the testing was still, after 39 years, above the basic requirements of standard for new material. So this demonstrates again the performance of the tape on a long-term basis and the resistance of aging of those tapes.
Fantastic. Perhaps you can talk a little bit more about the testing process for cold applied tapes and what you have learned from laboratory tests and comparisons.
Yeah, from my experience, this is my experience. I assist to many testing of different tape systems. So from my experience, the co-extruded tapes, when testing according to relevant standards used in the oil and gas industry, like EN standard or ISO standards. So when testing those tapes, the values, the result of the test is exceeding the requirements of the standard and largely exceeding the requirement of the standard. When using laminated tapes, we just meet the standard. Just a little slightly above the requirements, but not largely exceeding as we can see with laminated tapes. And for some tapes, even which are laminated and only using 2 layers of material instead of 3 layers of material, those tapes does even not meet the requirement of the standards. So this is what I've seen from my experience.
And to round off our discussion, I wonder if you could describe the major benefits of tapes compared to other field-applied coating systems for pipelines.
Yeah, again, this is again based on my experience and myself applying different coating systems. And I can say that tapes is probably the most easy coating system to apply. That's for me the key benefit. Easy because first it's cold applied. No need to heat. And to heat, we typically use torches, which is not so easy sometimes to handle. Or sometimes we use heavy equipment like induction coil. But for tapes, you don't need all this. You can easily apply cold, no need to heat. The second thing is the application itself can be applied by hand or with a very small wrapping device, wrapping machine. You don't need to use heavy equipment, heavy machines, which easily breaks down, and it's always the spare parts that you need, which is missing. So the job is stopped because the machine is blocked. So this doesn't happen with tapes. You easily wrap by hand with a small wrapping device, and because it's easy to apply, the risk of failure is largely reduced. There are statistics and studies which demonstrate that most of the field applied coating fail because of application mistakes. If the application is easy, the probability to have mistakes, application mistakes, is largely reduced. So you also reduce the probability to fail, and so increasing the integrity and the protection of the pipe. So yeah, that's the reason why I think tape is easy, is better to apply than other coating system.
And I wondered about surface preparation. Is there anything particular that you might need in terms of that?
Yes, good point indeed. The surface preparation for many coatings is require blasting with a certain profile. Of course, it's always better to blast for any coating, whatever the coating is. But for tapes, for our tapes, co-extruded, because of those high performance, blasting is not really mandatory. The coating achieve acceptable and high performance on a smooth surface, wire brush surface, so no need to blast as it is the case for many other coating systems.
Thank you. Thank you, Luc, so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's been a real pleasure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for you too.
And before we finish, I'd like to remind viewers that Denso Group's article, Testing Pipeline Tapes, is found in the September 2021 issue of World Pipelines, which you can access for free by heading over to worldpipelines.com/magazine. Thanks as ever for watching, and I will see you next time.